All right, good day, everybody. Great to see many of you now coming online for our upcoming event. And yeah, let's just get it started. So welcome everybody to the Unlock Your Marketing and Sales Power with Startups event. This is one of the first events actually this year that Mario01 is hosting together with HubSpot, but also in general hosting this year. So we're really happy to be back with events, and especially with this event. Like, as you know, we are all for community. We do a lot of one-on-ones with our community members, and one of the things that we've been gaining for the last quarter has been that our members really want to learn more about automating marketing and sales processes. And yeah, therefore we're really happy to kick off the year and the session this time with HubSpot for Startups. And hosting the session for the next hour, we'll have Ragini Campion from the HubSpot for Startups, and she's also our contact person, active on Slack, active on the portal. So also, if you have any questions related to the content here today, or any questions related to HubSpot, you can always reach out to her also over Slack, and yeah, get your answers to the questions that you might have. But I'm not going to be the one talking for the next hour or so. So I'm just going to give the virtual stage to you, Ragini. Are you ready to take on?
Welcome everyone to the webinar that we're running with Mario01 and HubSpot for Startups. And as you can see, the topic of the webinar today is on how to unlock your sales and marketing power. This is the first workshop of the year that we're running with the community, so we're really excited to kick things off and to know you all as well. Excited to get to know you. So by way of introduction, my name is Ragini Campion, and I work as a business manager at HubSpot for Startups, and I'm focused on the Nordics. And my goal here really is to support startups with the right learning, the tools, and the contacts you need to succeed. I manage the relationship with Mario01, so at any point in the year, if you have any ideas on what you'd like to see from us, please make sure please know that you can drop me a Slack or let me know what more you'd like to see. A little bit about my background quickly. I've worked in the exciting world of partnerships for a while. I'm doing a combination of global partnerships and sales. And prior to that, I worked at a social impact startup in the UK that had really big dreams, but a tiny team and a tiny budget. So I can understand some of your struggles as a founder. So let's kick off and get to know each other a little bit. I'd love to get everyone to just engage a little bit more. So pop in the chat so I know a little bit about where you're joining us from, what the weather's like in your country, and how comfortable you feel about the topic today. So feel free to just jump in chat and tell us on a scale of 1 to 5 how comfortable you feel automating your marketing and your sales functions. 5 being, I'm an automation guru, I know what this is about. And 1 being, automation is super confusing and I don't know where to start. Great, yeah, 2, 2.5, okay. Snowing, yeah, it's a very gloomy day in the UK and London where I'm based as well, so I know what that feels like. And a solid 3, that's great. So there's a few of you that obviously may have tested automation already when you're in startup. So at some point, I'd love to get you to share your perspective on what you've tried. And so as we're going through this, if anything resonates with you, definitely share in the chat, because that's something that could be useful, not just to me, but also to lots of other founders on the call. Great. So before we begin, I want to just really quickly tell you a little bit more about what HubSpot for Startups is. As many of you may have already engaged with us, this may be familiar to you, but if you're new and you've never heard of HubSpot for Startups, it's basically a program that's designed to provide the best of our CRM platform to entrepreneurs such as yourselves. And we do this through education sessions such as this one, startup-friendly onboarding, and really great discounts so that you have the tools that you need in your arsenal to grow better as a business. And the focus for today's session will be understanding automation. And we're going to discuss this through the lens of CRM-driven automation. More specifically, we're going to talk about inbound. We're going to talk about what that methodology is and a brief overview into how HubSpot is built on that methodology. But the big focus of the session really, as you know, is automation. So we're going to be spending some time thinking about when we say automation, what do we actually mean within the context of sales and marketing? And then spend majority of our time in the session focused on sales. As this is something that came up from the Maria 01 community, and based on your feedback, we decided to focus the session more on sales, but we will cover a little bit about marketing automation. And then I'll look to Jessica to pick out maybe one of the startups that's with us today to share a little bit more. But if that's not possible, then what we'll do is we'll jump straight into a Q&A at the end. And thank you for those that have already submitted their questions. That's really helpful. Great. So the focus again, as you can see, is understanding automation, right? But before we get into what automation looks like and when you should start it, it's important to understand what the inbound methodology is. And the reason is because a lot of sales and marketing is built around this methodology, and specifically within HubSpot. So previously, a lot of customers were at the end of a funnel. So within traditional sales, the customer often is an afterthought at the end of the funnel, and then sometimes forgotten about. But at HubSpot, we use the inbound methodology, which is a method of attracting, engaging, and delighting your customers to grow a business that provides value and builds lasting relationships with your customers. So your customers are really the momentum that your business is using to sustain in the long term, encouraging them to stay and ultimately bringing more customers with them through referrals and partners. So bringing the customer to the center is what the inbound methodology is all about. And the Hubspot CRM platform is built on that idea, where the free CRM at the center and multiple different hubs that many of you are probably familiar with that service different functions to support your business. So a quick overview of what the CRM platform looks like. The CRM is at the center, which is the free CRM, which some of you are using already. And then the different hubs that sit on top. So marketing, sales, service, CMS, and our latest hub, operations hub. So without further ado, let's now get into, sorry, I'm just having a little bit of trouble organizing my screen. This is the first time I've got two different monitors, so bear with me as I navigate from one to the next. Great. And the reason I wanted to talk about the HubSpot CRM first, before we jumped into all the details about automation, is that in order to really get the benefit of automation, you want to have some sort of CRM. It doesn't need to be HubSpot, but it is important to have a single source of truth that you can orient your decision-making and your automation around. So this single source of truth is necessary so you can rely on the data, make sure that it's clean data that you can make decisions off of. You can segment this data sufficiently, and you can leverage it for any of your strategic decision-making. So if you're still working off of multiple different spreadsheets and point-to-point solutions, automation may be slightly trickier to do. So let's jump right in and take a look at this buzzword. What is automation and why does it matter? So by definition, really, automation software helps you scale the impact of your team by setting up your routine tasks on autopilot, reducing the margin of errors and delays, and really freeing up your time to focus on high-value conversations with your customers. So typically, teams across marketing, sales, service, and operations will leverage automation for various things, such as personalizing outreach, qualifying leads, manage quoting, and routing any leads or support tickets. When used correctly, automation is an absolute must-have for any scaling business. And you probably know that, and that's why you're here today. But automation without intentional design and good quality data can be a disaster. I find it very helpful personally for some overall principles about automation before jumping into the details of how to apply it. So let's take a look at a few of these that you can keep in mind as you think through automating your service functions. Number one is possibly the most important thing to define before automating. What exactly is your sales process, and have you documented that? Not your aspirational process, but what actually happens on the ground. Aircall sales leader says that they define their sales process by listening to their sales reps and studying really how to actually do things and then began to document that to a very high standard. It's important that your sales process on paper is as close to your real process as possible. Once that's documented, you can take the next step and start identifying gaps, wasted time, and then plug those gaps in with automation. The second one here is a bit of a paradox, especially given the session is about automation. But just because everything can be automated doesn't necessarily mean that it should be. Your customers probably won't take kindly to receiving a ton of constant emails, and some high-value tasks do require human interaction. The key here is to identify which tasks are low value and repetitive and eliminate those. Number 3, I'm sure as founders you already know this, but it is really important to do your research before choosing a system. Just choosing a system out of the box that has automation features may be a disaster down the line. There are multiple options on the market, so you have the benefit of being part of a great community. So talk to other founders about what tools are out there before you choose to invest your money. My recommendation would be to find software that's easy to use for you and your team. Lots of tools now, including HubSpot, have drag and drop functionality, pre-made quizzes, and pre-made workflows that you can customize. So that can be really great if you're just starting out on your automation journey. And lastly, and as startups, you know this best, test with smaller groups of customers, test your automation processes and your workflows, and start to do those with the kind of workflows and processes that have minimal steps and simple yes or no, what if decision trees before you go big. So really, the key takeaway here is that automation is not just a buzzword, it is a really powerful tool that can help you save time and scale your business more effectively, where you can have some roles and then compensate for them fully. So now that we know what to watch out for and the basic principles of automation, let's look at some ways in which you can start to automate your sales process. And if some of you are already automating parts of your sales process, what are some other things you could focus on? Now, what I want to do before I get started with this is leverage the community. So Jack, and tell us what is the number one thing that frustrates you about your current sales process. I'll give you a couple more minutes for people to type, but I'd love to understand what is it that's your number one pain point with your current sales process as it stands. Yeah. Thank you, T. Long sales cycles. It's taking really long to follow up. People are taking time to make decisions. Perhaps your startup requires a long consideration period before they can ultimately buy. That can be frustrating. Great, we'll wait for those to come through. And in the interest of time, I'll just share really quickly one of my pain points is I used to really struggle with the amount of information I had to manually update on the CRM. So every time I had a meeting, I had a call, it took me so much longer than preparing for the meeting for me to update all of this information. So yeah, exactly, manual work, right? So it takes a lot of time away from the core of your role. And that can be really frustrating. Pasi says not a clear view of deals per month or the future views. So you don't have reliable data for you to make decisions on what's actually happening with your sales. How many are you closing per month? What's your close rate? And how do you plan for the future if you don't have that kind of information? Great, so continue to share. There's people in the chat. I want to call out also my colleague Francois is here. So any questions you have, any comments, he will also respond to them. So there's tons of different issues that are not necessarily unique, right? So even the best and biggest of businesses face similar issues. It could be maybe losing track of a deal because you forgot to follow up, or maybe you're calling leads in an alphabetical order, do them chronologically when I didn't know any better. Perhaps you're going back and forth with a prospect multiple times, trying to figure out what a good time is for them to chat. No one is perfect. One of the issues with this is the fact that many of you experience these issues, and it's causing critical issues with your time. So what you want to try and avoid is time delays and inefficiencies in your process. Momentum really is crucial in sales, and nothing can kill a sales process like that last talking about. Even a delay by 1 hour could mean that your prospect loses interest in speaking with you. I want to bring up actually a testimonial that we saw where our data tells us that companies that try to contact potential customers within 1 hour of receiving queries get nearly 7 times as likely to have solid, meaningful conversations with important decision makers than those that try to contact prospects that filled out a form even an hour later. So this is precious time that your company needs to make sure you're not losing. And so this is really where you can't be everywhere at once. So you can leverage automation so that you can so that you can respond quickly, efficiently, and reap some of these benefits. The slide, I'm not going to read through all of them, but some of the issues that you talked about previously, automation can help you solve. It can help increase the productivity, improve the accuracy of your sales process, ensure that you're not losing leads, streamline the quality of your sales tasks, and make sure that your data stays consistent, and wherever you have scarce resources, that you're using them efficiently, such as a small team or a budget. So how do we start to think about sales automation? You can really think about sales automation through 2 lenses. So there's rep-specific automation, which is focused on boosting productivity and performance, and then manager-level automation, or sales leader automation, but we'll come to that later. Rep here means anyone in a sales or a customer facing role. The overall idea is to understand where time is being wasted, where there are inefficiencies, and identify what can be done at scale to help sales get in touch with prospects at the right time. First, log and track activity. With a CRM, you'll be able to log and track all emails, all interactions with contacts and company records. If you're not doing this already, this is a very easy, low-lift thing to put in place. On my account, for example, I also get insights on whether my prospects are engaging with the emails that I'm sending them because of the tracking feature. I can also see important information, such as what time of the day they open my emails, how many clicks a particular document that I sent them has received. And all this helps me to prioritize my leads and plan when is the best time for me to follow up with them. And this is all just a simple result of logging and tracking all of my activity so that I can start to see patterns. Next, it's important to take an audit of all of the things that you spend your time in during the day. There might be key activities that you find that you're doing over and over again. And there might be activities that you could have a tool do for you automatically. For example, for really commonly used emails, you can use templates. And the idea of repetitive annual task that you're spending a lot of time on and doesn't require a lot of customization, and find a way in which you can do this at scale. So you can document it, and then you can send the same email, customize it slightly, pop it in a folder, and make that available whenever you need it. Our data shows that 30 to 50% of content should be personalized, and templates are a simple way to do that. Save your email, customize 30 to 50%, because beyond that, it's diminishing returns. So there's really limited benefit to writing that highly curated email for something that's a routine task or a routine follow-up. Another reason that sales processes are delayed is because of all the back and forth on finding time to meet. And everyone knows about this, right? Are you free at 10 o'clock? What about 11 o'clock? There's a really easy way to solve this that HubSpot allows for, and lots of other external tools allow for as well. And this is through the calendars feature. A meeting calendar like this, or an external tool like Calendly, where prospects can book time with you directly, can be really helpful in eliminating that extra time spent going back and forth with a prospect, no matter how important they are. People are happy to book time directly with you because it's easier for them and easier for you. You can also create multiple version calendar. So you can share with high quality prospects. Maybe you give them the opportunity to book more time with you, or create invites for group availability as well. Your calendar can also function as a qualifying tool. So what I mean by that is at scale, when people are booking time with you, you can ask them questions that you need to know, to inquire about the business, their role, what they're hoping to achieve, so that you can get to the call ready and prepared to close that deal. Then the last thing I want to highlight when it comes to improving the productivity of yourself as a sales reps or your team of sales reps is how you can nurture warm and hot leads to help them complete their purchase. Hot leads here are different from warm leads in that they're ready to buy now. So not only do they have interest in your business, but they have intent to purchase. So that could mean that they're filling out a form submission requesting for a specific demo, or they've looked at your pricing page. These are buying signals that are telling you that these are hot leads, and you want to capitalize on that. My recommendation here would be to keep track of critical events or updates with these hot leads and target accounts. You can do this through tools like LinkedIn Sales Navigator, and you can integrate that with your CRM as well. So you get alerts every time there's an update with your ideal customer or a big piece of news about the industry that they're in. 70% of sales emails do tend to be the same across different industries, across different teams. So trigger events such as this can really help to make those sales emails a little bit more personable. And an effective way to conduct sales outreach, once you've set up these trigger events, you have them coming in as alerts to your inbox, is to use sequences. So you can conduct sales outreach once you've identified a trigger event. And sequences are basically a series of emails that contacts can be enrolled in. And when they respond, they're automatically unenrolled from the sequence. So this can be a series of emails encouraging them to follow up based on what you've shared beforehand. And this is all happening on the back end. So you don't have to worry about who you need to follow up with, who you need to contact. And it's set up at scale. So you can nurture your leads at scale. This really be designed for every common situation in the sales pipeline: your initial outreach, your follow-up. Perhaps you have a meeting booked and you want to make sure that they've done that. All of these different situations are opportunities for you to implement a sequence that you can simply choose a list of contacts to enroll in. And now I'm going to jump into, we've been focused on productivity and performance of sales reps, but I'm going to jump into how managers and sales leaders, such as CSOs for startups, can leverage automation to help with their day-to-day responsibilities, because often they're not the ones doing the direct sales. And so their responsibilities do look different. So the first thing, you can set up a deal pipeline and automate various actions that you want all your team members and your prospects to take as the deal moves across your defined stages. Automating your sales pipeline might be something many of you have already tried. If you're using Hubspot CRM and some of you are at a 3 in terms of how comfortable you are, this may be something you already have. You can set up workflows from within the deal pipeline itself and set up different actions or tasks you want your team to take when a deal moves from one stage to the next. This also helps you ensure that the marketing to sales handoff is often smooth. We have a lot of startups that tell us that the marketing team is sending them leads that they can't act on because they haven't been qualified. And similarly, the marketing team is saying the qualified leads that they're sending through are falling through the cracks. And if you automate your sales pipeline, you can make sure that anyone that needs to be notified about a specific lead or about changes in the deal stages is notified. So this is what it would look like. If you customize your deal pipeline, you can set up specific workflows for each of the deal stages. And you can also create tasks, and you would create tasks through workflows. So a workflow is this series of actions. It basically automatically happening one after another when a specific condition is met. So let's say you're maybe a high priority contact, somebody you've been watching from a specific target account for a company that you've identified is critical for your sales, comes through and looks at your pricing page. We know that when somebody looks at your pricing page twice in a day, that their chances of becoming a customer increase significantly. So you want to capitalize on that, and you want your sales reps to be notified and assigned those leads so that they can follow up quickly when someone that you've assigned as a high priority contact visits your website. You can also rotate leads automatically so that no marketing qualified leads the cracks. You can also set up reminders for deals that have gone stale. So perhaps something has been sitting for 2 months, maybe you have an in-month close rate that you need to meet, and anything beyond 3 or 4 months is causing your deal pipeline to clog up. You can set reminders and alerts for your sales reps to prioritize these deals, or to close one or close lose them. The next thing is to really set your team up for success and to set yourself up for success as a sales manager, and to leverage weekly reports, dashboards, anything that you're pulling on a manual basis regularly to automatically send weekly reports. And multiple CRMs will do this, where you can just trigger off alerts to your sales reps on top accounts you want them to focus on, as to your sales directors, capturing your forecast and your deals for the month or for the week. Another important thing for both reps as well as sales managers and sales leaders is that logging, tracking this activity and doing all of it through the single source of truth, how well you're doing. So if you've sent out an email sequence, what's the open rate? What's the reply rate? Is the sequence doing well? If there's particular members on your team who have had a great sequence, why not plug and play that into your own outreach to your contacts and your prospects? This is all made possible because you can really see and measure the success of your campaign. So before we jump in, I know that was a lot to cover, and thank you for staying with me, but I do want to make sure that we cover as much as we can so that you have 2 or 3 things in your arsenal that you can go away and try and implement at the end of this session. But before we move into marketing automation, I want to take a quick break and see if you have any ideas for the kind of things you can implement within your sales process. So any kind of automation perhaps you've already implemented that you might be thinking slightly differently about now, or if you haven't implemented any automation in your sales process, what's one easy thing you can implement? Great. Calendar meetings is a really great one. I know a lot of people love that, and it saves a huge amount of time. If you really quantify how much time is saved across the year, that's great. Thank you. And keep them coming in. We also have a Slack channel that is active within the Maria 01 workspace where you can share this as well. But would love to see it on so easy way from all of the different things we saw. We saw sequences, calendar meetings, workflows, deal automation. Let me know what's one thing that you feel like you can easily implement into your sales process. That's great, Auntie. Yep, automated email sequence for customers who are testing our service. Do you want to maybe come off chat and just tell us a little bit more about how you might think about implementing that, and is that something you've thought about doing previously as well? I don't know, hopefully you can unmute yourself. Jessica, do you know if it's possible for people to unmute themselves?
Let me see, we're just working on it. Yes, I think Antti will be able to unmute himself now.
Yes, I can. Can you hear me, by the way?
Yeah.
Cool. Okay. So yes, we've been using HubSpot at Trail Systems for a few years now, and now we are trying to get our marketing and sales to be more automated. And our first efforts have been to create this series of automated emails that we send to our customers when they are testing our service, so that they receive these kind of guiding emails who help them to understand how the service works and how they can do different kinds of actions in there. So we're still doing it. It's not completely automated. It's a hybrid version of manual and email templates how we're currently operating. But this was like the the low-hanging fruit for us to start testing something.
That's great. Yeah.
So, yeah, that's
Thank you so much for sharing. I think the key word there really, I think you've called out already, is low-hanging fruit, right? Like, what is it that you can quickly start to implement and just test and see how to implement 10 sequences, and that basically means that you've got so much more to manage. But really, is there something specific that's easy that you can try, maybe a sequence for a smaller set of contacts that engage with your service, or a set of contacts you want to revive, maybe set up a sequence and see how well that does. So I think the key there is identifying low-hanging fruit so you can get more comfortable with these automation workflows and sequences, and then implement them on a wide scale as well. Great. So let's jump in then into marketing automation. And no, I know that we said we're largely focused on sales, but if marketing automation is something that you're struggling with, you want more details and support on, we're very happy to do more sessions focused on marketing automation as well. Great. So the key thing here with marketing automation is workflows actually is a marketing term. So it refers to any kind of automated process where tasks, information, and emails are all triggered based on set rules. And these rules are up to you to define. So workflows are great because they help you combine that powerful connection between content and context and make sure that you're getting the right information to the right person at the right time. There's a few things to note here about workflows. It's very easy to imagine when you're talking about marketing and workflows, it's very easy to think about an external campaign. So you can, I guess a lot of you in your minds, and me personally, when I first did a little bit of research about this, was also drip campaigns, right? Making sure that you're sending external campaigns, getting people to engage with your content, your one pages, and bringing them to your website. But workflows are also internal. And in fact, as going through your process, perhaps 90% of your workflows may be internal processes. They're not all going to be automated email campaigns. So you can really think about workflows more powerfully as the automation that runs your business, not just external facing communication. Workflows are reusable routines. So once you've tried it in one place, perhaps you can reuse it in different points in your process. Marketing teams very often also use workflows in order to notify sales teams and to tell them that this particular lead has been engaging with this type of content. They've come on to they've filled out a form that says that they want a demo. These are all ways in which the marketing team captures these hot leads and shares them internally through a notification to the sales team. A word of caution here is to limit the number of people who create, modify workflows, especially if you're a small team and everyone has the same amount of access, because really small changes to an automated workflow can create issues for your marketing, sales, and business operations. So this is something that you just want to be careful of. And then I think in terms of workflows for external channels, there's fairly obvious frequent ones. So what we've done is we've just put together a list for you that can help you capitalize on these hot leads through workflows. And these are commonly used workflows that you could implement yourselves that don't have multiple different steps, so that you can just test the water a little bit with automation workflows. So for example, you could have page view notifications, especially on your pricing page. Like I said, if somebody comes and they want to become a customer, and all this information needs to be passed on to a sales rep. So there's two things you could do. One is you could externally communicate through the workflow. Somebody's visited the page. Here's some more product related content of the things you were looking at. Step three sends off a notification to the sales rep telling them alerting them about the fact that this particular person who has been looking at this particular content and so needs a follow-up. Another must-have for scaling businesses is a form submission. So instead of somebody having to email you, being able to directly say, I'm looking for a demo on this product line. This is the time that I'm free, and directly book time with the sales team can save you a lot of time and energy in trying to get them to come to these demos. And then similarly notify your sales team there as well. Perhaps they filled out the demo form, but they didn't really submit it. They didn't finish it. Then you can enroll your contact in an email sequence that encourages them to complete through a series of emails. Another must-have here is identifying contacts from target accounts and when they begin to engage with your content. So if you find that somebody that you've been after for a while, that you've been prospecting and chasing, engages with one of your pieces of content, it's important that your sales teams knows this. So really, workflows can be used in the marketing context, in the sales context, but typically they're used both internally and externally to automate different sets of actions and tasks that otherwise you would spend a lot of time manually having to do. So before we jump into questions, I do want to call out that automation is quite it's a buzzword, but it is a really powerful tool that can help your business scale. And I hope that this session helped you identify some of the easy, low-lift ways in which you can start implementing it for your marketing and sales teams. And as you're implementing it, if questions come up or you're identifying specific roadblocks in the process, do share with us. We could also come back and do a more detailed workshop on marketing automation or some of the specific issues that you're facing. But with that, our session kind of comes to an end. I know it was super fast paced, but we wanted to make sure we give you about 5 or 10 minutes at the end for questions. So feel free to reach out over chat, unmute yourself, jump on and ask me a question as well. I do have 3 questions that were already submitted to me that I'll go through, but we'll wait quickly to see if anybody has any top of mind questions that they want to share.
I can maybe go ahead with asking one question at least, like in terms of early stage startup teams that are starting to use HubSpot. What are kind of like the first features that they are starting to use? And also like usually, what are those like strong, kind of like the urgent things in their sales processes want to kind of like start automating? So what are some of those first steps for an early stage startup?
That's a great question, Jessica. Thank you. So there's 2 ways in which you need to think about that, I think. One is there's tons of features that you get that are plug and play, right? So you have out of the box templates, you have out of the box workflows, and multiple different CRMs have this now. So you don't even have to create something from scratch. Within about 3 or 4 clicks, you could have a workflow running on the back end to test. So one thing I'd say is test small and use some of the out of the box solutions and then customize at a later stage, especially if you're early. Documents is a great feature where you can see the number of views, the clicks, you can reuse a document, you can create a document library for you and your teams to access, you can create snippets, which are blocks of text that you can reuse in multiple different emails or contact situations. Templates is another one that we discussed. So there's tons of different features, but the key, I think, is to just be willing to try and to use some of the out of the box things that already exist. I think specifically when it comes to early stage startups, what we find is that they're still identifying who their buyer persona is, trying to understand more information about their customer. So that customer profile often is still very much in development. So it can be difficult to target content if your customer persona is still being worked on. So I think the first thing I'd say is identify who your buyer persona is, who is your ideal customer profile, find out the watering holes, what kind of networks, what kind of content they consume, and then begin to target them. But I guess the challenge there really is the first step in identifying your buyer persona and also identifying what your sales process is, right? Many startups are still figuring out how long their sales cycle is, what it is for different product lines. So I'd say spend some time talking to your sales team and documenting that first. And then automation should come as an easy next step to that.
Nice. Good points.
We had one other question that I want to address, sorry, quickly, which was somebody asked us about the release of tickets on the iOS app. And they said they're a B2C customer. They love the software, which is great to hear. But I will just share as a follow-up the link to the page where you can see updates. I know it's live on Android, but it is coming soon for iOS apps. So you can look at it on the go on your phone and solve tickets. But it is still in development, and I'll share a link so you can stay updated on that. Anything else?
I think we have, let's see if we can get you.
Yeah, hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, so we are probably the mentioned B2C company that uses HubSpot, and we can obviously see that it's been built with B2B companies in mind. So we come to the limits of what it can do in terms of B2C customers quite often. So are there any plans for HubSpot on developing the features that could be beneficial for B2C companies? And if so, what kind?
Okay, that's a great question. And I might actually defer to my colleague, Francois, if he is on the call, to jump on and add some more context there. If you could unmute him, Jessica, that would be great. But yes, I think in terms of, there's lots of different features that you could leverage as a B2C business as well. But I think the question is here is how many marketing contacts you have, because you could have a whole number of contacts. I believe you can have up to 1 million contacts as long as they're non-marketing contacts. So I would just say, if in the interim, I think until you're able to, you have the budget to get more contacts, more marketing contacts in, I would say unenroll contacts that you're not actively marketing to, so that the number of contacts you have stays within your limit. And then you can re-enroll them as you choose to market them actively. So I would say that is a bit of a challenge, but I'll see if Francois, my colleague, has anything else to add on that front.
No, that's, I was going to say the same thing, Ragini. One thing I would suggest as well, for B2C companies, the features they would use a lot would be transactional emails as well, because you guys use that a lot, and also the integration with the e-commerce, but I'm sure you guys have that in place. What I would do as well is maybe speak directly with your customer success manager as you're a paying HubSpot customer. They work a lot, with different customers within your field, and they could maybe recommend best practices, see what other folks do as well within that space. It's true, you mentioned the majority of our customers are B2B, but there's a huge chunk of them that are also B2C, sorry, and that are very successful using HubSpot with that. Are there any features in particular you were looking for, or where do you see the limit within HubSpot?
Well, the marketing contacts, for example, so we already have 2,000 people that we would like to market to, and thus we would have to upgrade to enterprise, which would then be super expensive for a startup our size. So there are these certain limits, but I'm sure we can negotiate about it.
Yeah, that's something. Yeah, you can definitely. So first of all, I'm sure Ragini share that info, and Maria01 as well. But you do get that HubSpot for Startups discount. So you would be, depending on your level of funding, you would get a substantial discount. And yes, that's something that you can always negotiate, and Ragini can definitely help put your case forward to the sales rep and the customer success manager. So do liaise with her, and she can help you out. If it's just the marketing contact pricing that's holding you out, that's definitely something that we can help you guys with.
All right,
thank you so much. Yeah, and that's something I can follow up on as well. So for everybody on the call, because of our relationship with Maria01, we do offer discounts on the software to startups from the Maria01 community. And this can range from 30% all the way up to 90% off in year one, depending on your funding criteria, like my colleague mentioned. So what I'll do is I'll send all of that information through as follow-up, so you can check out what features you might want to use and qualify for that discount as well. But any questions such as this, which is specific, you want to connect with your CSM, you want to negotiate a specific discount, reach out to me. I'm actually on the Maria01 Slack channel. It's a great place. So just drop me a message and we can take it from there. Great. So in terms of the webinar, I'd love to understand a little bit more about you, what your business is, what your kind of key takeaway has been from the session, what you'd like to see more as well. I am a big fan of feedback. It really helps us know what to bring to you. So let us know what you want to see. Did you like this? Do you want more of it? And tell me also how comfortable you feel trying automation on a scale of 1 to 5. It would really help me understand what was effective about the session and what we can change moving forward. So that's it from us at HubSpot for Startups. My finish is basically 0, but I'm making an effort, and I hope that helps. But thank you everyone so much for being part of it. Reach out to me, engage with us on Slack, and drop me a line.
Yes, thank you, Ragini. This was really great. And as you mentioned, let's continue the conversation over Slack and engage with each other there. And yeah, we'll be following up with some of the material also over an email to all the attendees. But wishing you all a great day and see you on Slack.